they give an example of the kalima, which is the butterfly that the leaf looks like the wing looks like a dead leaf, so to protect it. And this creates questions that, okay, if the nature selecting that this wing of the bacteria, the butterfly, has to be dead leaf because it is good for it, then there is a selector involved. Nature is selecting. If there's a selection, there has to be a selector. Now, those who are seeing these things, studying these things, they, as I said, they came and fight this back very, very heavy. One of them was that they were saying that the creationists, they were saying that, okay, according to you guys, the life in the sea, which is fish, gave rise, evolved, certain type of fish, evolved into amphibians, like frogs and whatnot, and frogs and amphibians went to the reptiles and birds and mammals. It's okay, if this is the case, these are called phyla. What about in between? What about, is there any animal, is there a fossil record? So much, is emphasized on that to indicate there are organisms that are neither fish nor amphibians, or they are in between the bird and the reptiles. This was something that was completely missing. And there was huge gap. Many of them have many objections towards these things, but the selectionist or Darwinist people or evolutionists, they would found, for example, certain fossils from a fish is called coelacanth, which spells that Coelacanth. Coelacanth, which is estimated to be 410 million years of age. They said, okay, the fossils of this found clearly shows that this animal is something between fish and amphibians. It has very primitive lung and digestive system and circulatory system and hollow fins and whatnot, ready basically to walk on the land. But in 1938, to the surprise of everybody, they found this fish as alive right there in the Indian Ocean. Another transitional form is the famous Archaeopteryx, which is a bird. You must have seen the fossil of that bird in many places. I've seen it. They're saying, okay, this bird, it does not have a chest bone called a sternum, which the muscle of flight attaches to it, but it's kind of, so that a bird would have to have that. But this didn't have Archaeopteryx, so you can't call him a bird. They actually found the 7 fossils of the same bird. They found that they had a sternum. The 7th one had an sternum. Okay. The other things I think about Archaeopteryx, that it has a beak, but it has teeth. So the tooth cannot come with the beak. Birds, they don't have that. But the creationists argue that, look, even today, look at the swan, the bird, it has minor tooth right on the beak. So the fossil record of these two, I just brought you an example of coelacanth and Archaeopteryx, is not really a good intermediate species, supposedly, between the fish and amphibians, or Archaeopteryx between the birds, and it was rejected. The major problem that the theory of evolution brought is that man is coming from a monkey. There is no such a thing as Adam and Eve and all that, and they found all kind of fossil records that clearly, according to them, shows how you can see progressively man from one species comes to another till reaches today. And basically they set forth 4 different types of fossils. Australopithecine, which is, I'm hoping I'm spelling it right, Australopithecine, which is a South African apes, and itself comes a different type of it. Aphronesis, which is one species, and then after that comes Africanus, which has a slimmer body, then Australopithecine robustosus, which is the bigger bones, and recently Ramidus. And they say this Australopithecine, was walking upright, but not like human, but not like apes. It was walking upright, not like human, but also not like apes. This is something in between. They say Australopithecine gone, vanished, and they were evolved into Homo habilis, which is the handyman. So, these 2 particular species, or the fossil record of the Australopithecines and Homo habilis, has been totally denied by the creationists, and they say that no, these 2 species are nothing but the present chimpanzees. I give you some of the objections, which I wrote it myself in this thing, in my writing. I wrote, this view has been protested by many creationists and evolutionists, and regarding the Australopithecine, they maintain the cranial capacities, the brain size, the skulls, are the same or smaller than the chimpanzees of today. So the skull size of the Australopithecine and Homo habilis is the same as the chimpanzee. The projection in the feet and hand is similar also to the present chimpanzees. They're about 51 inches tall, which resemble also the present size of the chimpanzees. Their skull gaps, their skulls and also gaps between the eyes, sharp molar teeth and mandibular structures, and long arm, short legs, very similar again to the chimpanzees. They were living at the same time as the Homo habilis in different parts of the world, so they could not be evolving from each other. That is, Homo habilis and Australopithecine, they were living at the same time. How could one evolve into another? Okay. And it says, I wrote this on the book, it says the renowned anatomist Zuckerman and Charles Oxnard, working on their bones for 15 years, have calculated that the species of Australopithecine were not bipedal, that they were not going at 2 feet. They were not bipedal, and so in 1994, not too long ago, a team at the Liverpool University in England concluded that the Australopithecine were quadrupedal. They were 4 legs, not 2. So Australopithecine, and Homo habilis are not ancestors of the present human. They're just simply the chimpanzees. The other 2 examples that the evolutionists, they say that, okay, after Homo habilis comes Homo erectus, or upright man who came to savanna, they say, because there was not enough food in the jungle. Those kind of things. But they say, as far as the Homo erectus and Homo sapien, which comes, a Neanderthal, that comes after that, absolutely they were nothing but ordinary human beings with different races. I wrote Homo erectus, this fossil follows the Homo habilis and is claimed to be the inferior in the modern man. This includes the Peking and the Java man. But creationists argue Homo erectus is nothing but a skeleton of a man found in the present man. They argue the cranial capacity of 900 to 1100 of Homo erectus is found in pygmies in Africa. The eyebrow projection of this fossil is those of the Aborigines in Australia, present modern man. However, the most famous fossils of the Homo erectus, called Turkana Boy, this is in Turkana Lake in Kenya, is the fossil of a 12 years old boy with many similarities to the modern man. The conclusion was that the Homo erectus is another race of man. The famous evolutionist and the fossil hunter Richard Leakey, he was really just like Aldous Huxley, was always, they called the bulldog of Darwin, defending Darwin all the time. Richard Leakey is a fossil hunter trying to prove that evolution goes, his evolution theory is correct. He himself, he says the differences are, quotations, he says, quote, "The differences are probably no more pronounced than we see today between the separate geographic races of modern human beings." So he took back his idea of what he was talking about. And about the Neanderthal, absolutely, it was just like a normal today people. I wrote Professor William Lofton of the University of Connecticut, which has studied extensively the Inuit, found that these people are very much similar to Homo erectus, the Inuits. And Neanderthal, they appeared some 100,000 years ago and disappeared 35,000 years ago. Eric Trinkos, a paleontologist from the University of New Mexico, writes, "Detailed comparison of Neanderthal skeletal remains with those of the modern human have shown that there's nothing in Neanderthal anatomy that conclusively indicates locomotions, manipulative, intellectual, or linguistic abilities inferior to those of the modern human being." So, of these four, Australopithecus and Homo habilis, it is found that absolutely they were monkeys, just similar to our nowadays monkeys. And as far as the Homo erectus and Neanderthal, they were just a different type of race of people in between. Now, but there are more that totally, conclusively denies this idea of one being evolves into another. According to the estimates, Australopithecus lived from 4 million years up and until 1 million years ago. Homo habilis lived 1.7 to 1.9 million years ago. Homo erectus lived about 1.6 to 1.8 million years ago. That is same time as their ancestors Homo habilis, which defines the evolution pattern. Again, Mr. Richard Leakey writes, this is in the Encyclopedia of Evolution. He says, quotation, quote, "The early members of the human lineage were contemporaries of the Australopithecus, not descendant, as was generally believed." He believed that Homo erectus and Homo habilis and Homo sapien, these were the ancestors of Australopithecus. Then he found that the fossil records, they were all living at the same time. There was a program on TV that David Suzuki, the Canadian biologist, was talking about the evolution, that was explaining, well, I saw it on TV, that all these so-called fossils record that indicate of different species, they were all living at the same time. And again, in that encyclopedia from Leakey says that by